A very good morning and welcome to the Breakfast News Saturday morning. Lots making news, believe it or not. Let's get you the headlines first. Maritime security and terrorism among agenda as Prime Minister Modi holds talks with visiting French President Emmanuel Macron today. Agreement likely on India's largest nuclear power park at Jaitapur in Maharashtra being built with French collaboration. First National Legislators Conference, the brainchild of Lok Sabha Speaker Sumitra Mahajan, to begin today. 200 lawmakers from across the country to share their success stories. Prime Minister and top central leaders to guide them on achieving goals of greater development. Next, RS's General Secretary to be elected today. 1,500 office bearers deliberate on issues of national importance and expansion of the organization at the conference underway in Nagpur. Health and legal experts welcome the Supreme Court's landmark euthanasia verdict, say the decision to allow critically ill patients to die instead of surviving on life support was long overdue. An Indian women's hockey team beat South Korea 3-1 to take an unassailable lead in the 5-match series being played in Seoul. Gurjeet Kaur, Deepika and Poonam Rani win the day for India. Our top focus today, French President Emmanuel Macron is in Delhi on his first visit to India. He will be meeting Prime Minister Modi later in the day, and both leaders will discuss ways to strengthen bilateral economic, political and strategic ties. Maritime security and terrorism will be the key focus areas, reports Akhilesh Suman. Breaking protocol, Prime Minister Narendra Modi received the French President Emmanuel Macron at the airport on Friday night. Macron, who is on a 4-day visit to India, is accompanied by his wife, Brigitte Marie-Claude Macron, delegation of 50 CEOs of French companies and top officials. Prime Minister Modi greeted Macron with a hug and shook hands with his wife. Prime Minister Modi and French President Emmanuel Macron will hold delegation-level talks in New Delhi today. Stepping up cooperation in the Indian Ocean region will be one of the top issues that will be discussed, along with defense, nuclear energy, space and counter-terrorism. Besides conventional areas, focus would also be on renewable energy, high-speed trains and stepping cooperation in trade. The two sides will also sign an agreement on co-development on a full-fledged satellite constellation in the maritime domain. A framework agreement for expediting the Jaitapur nuclear power plant, which is being built with French assistance, is expected to be signed during the visit.
Maritime security in the Indian Ocean region is a very important area where we are working together with France. It's an area where we are actually seeing increasing convergence because of the kind of activities, because end of the day there's a lot of trade, transport, movement in that area. There is, an area that we see that we perhaps could join hands and take our cooperation forward.
On Sunday, Prime Minister Modi and President Macron will co-chair the founding conference of the International Solar Alliance. ISA is a flagship Indian initiative launched by Prime Minister Modi and the French President on the sidelines of the Paris Climate Conference in 2015. India and France have pledged to achieve reduction in emissions as committed at Paris. During the 4-day visit, Macron will take part in an interactive session with nearly 300 students from different institutions in New Delhi. He will also visit Varanasi on 12th of March and inaugurate a solar plant in Uttar Pradesh's Mirzapur along with the Prime Minister.
There is convergence of mind and heart between India and France on the issue of maritime strategic balancing. There is also convergence on the issues of counter-terrorism and renewable energy. In this way, this visit is going to be very important for both India and France. Akhilesh Suman for Rajya Sabha Television with camera person Junaid in Delhi.
We're our Foreign Affairs Editor Akhilesh Suman joining us now on the phone line from the capital. Akhilesh, a long day ahead, of course, for both the leaders, whether it be French President Emmanuel Macron and even Prime Minister Modi. But for the French President, it will start, of course, at about 9 a.m., I believe, when he'll be, of course, given a ceremonial welcome at Rashtrapati Bhavan.
Yeah, naturally, President is very important guest for India, and you see the body language when Prime Minister himself went to receive him at the airport, and it has been clarified that he is not going to receive every president or prime minister. So you can understand from this gesture that France is very important for us. And you know that after ceremonial reception, he will be going to Rajya also to put his respect to Mahatma Gandhi, and then Sushma Swaraj will meet him again. And then you will know that the official delegation will talk, and then one-to-one talk, and then signing of agreements will be held around 1:30. You know. So in this way, the whole half of the day, French President is giving to Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and after that he is going to address a town hall meeting where he will be interacting with the student and young leaders of India. So what is the more important, that he wants to connect his heart and mind with India in a way that India has been saying that France has been very important partner, and not only important partner. India and France were the first who signed the first strategic relationship in 1998. And then you know that when we were in isolation after Pokhara, France was the one country who supported us and did not break any ties, did not obey the sanctions put by many of the countries. So in that way, France is very important, and this is how you can see the bonhomie being seen by the Indian political and government system, and also Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And I think that when we sign the agreement in the afternoon, I think we will see that what are the outcomes of this understanding between the two countries.
Absolutely. Akhilesh, also give us an idea of the kind of agreements that would be signed. There's also a likelihood that on the Jaitabur nuclear plant work which is going on with French collaboration, of course, something significant could happen on that front.
Yeah, naturally, you see, the agreements are in four broad areas the agreements might be signed. Though you know that always fingers are crossed and announcements are made very seldom before the agreements are signed, because these are very sensitive issues. But one of the most important issue that we were interacting with the External Affairs Ministry, they were saying that there is a lot of convergence on the Indo-Pacific region, because in Indo-Pacific region, or the whole Asia-Pacific region is becoming a chessboard, like many countries want their presence. This is the main pathway to roam around the whole world. The high sea is there in this area. So France has France has the most naval bases in this area after USA, and no European country has any base in this area. So it is going to be one of the most important agreements. In what way this agreement will come, because these are the sensitive issues. Many things are there in the understanding, many things are there in secret. But some sort of agreement we will be seeing on the issue of maritime cooperation and maritime security, as well as logistical arrangement between the two navies, because when you roam in the high sea, you need logistical stations where you can refuel, where you can your people go and take.
Absolutely. We look forward to all those details, of course, with you, Akhilesh. You'll be tracking, of course, all those developments, and we'll come back to you through the day. I'm sorry, I'll have to interrupt you there because the network is getting a little bad as well. We'll come back to you, of course, with more details. Thank you so much for joining us for the moment. Another big story that we'll be tracking today: the National Legislators Conference is being held for the first time in the national capital today. It is the brainchild of Lok Sabha Speaker Sumitra Mahajan. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be inaugurating the two-day conference. The Vice President of India and Chairman of Rajya Sabha, M. Venkaiah Naidu, will address legislators on Sunday at the closing ceremony of the two-day event. Lok Sabha Speaker Sumitra Mahajan, who is hosting this conference, said that 200 MLAs from 20 state assemblies across the nation are expected to take part at the conference. Here's what to expect.
Beginning Saturday, the Central Hall of Parliament will host 200 legislators from across the country at the first of its kind National Legislators Conference. V for Development is the theme of the conclave, that is the brainchild of Lok Sabha Speaker Sumitra Mahajan. Mahajan selected 18 young MPs and leaders for the core group to host the two-day conference that will also have 8 speakers from different state assemblies.
विकास को आधार मान करके और विकास के लिए सभी लोग एकत्रित, विकास में कोई राजनीति नहीं होती है, वो जनता के लिए होता है। और इसलिए जनप्रतिनिधि विकास के लिए कैसे काम करें। तो इस बार भी हमने उसी आधार पर एक सम्मेलन कहो, कॉन्फ्रेंस कहो, जो कल और परसों 2 दिन आयोजित की है, 10 और 11।
The two-day event will be a platform for the MPs, MLAs and MLCs to share their success stories and to give their perspective on developmental issues in light of sustainable development goals. Niti Aayog CEO Amitabh Kant will give a presentation of development model being adopted in 101 most backward districts. The plenary session will be held in the Central Hall, while the two-day event will be spread around 2 parallel sessions.
We for development, हम विकास के लिए हम किस तरीके से काम करेंगे, क्योंकि केवल मैं मानती हूँ यहाँ कुछ घोषणाएं करके या केंद्र आधारित कुछ परियोजनाएं चला करके केवल विकास नहीं हो पाता जब तक वो नीचे तक नहीं पहुँचे।
Many senior central ministers, including Arun Jaitley, JP Nadda, Nitin Gadkari, Nirmala Sitharaman, Prakash Javadekar are slated to address the legislators. Rajya Sabha Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu will address the valedictory session on Sunday afternoon at the Central Hall. In 2016, a similar initiative by Lok Sabha Speaker had resulted in another first-of-its-kind convention of women legislators representing nearly all state assemblies. Vineet Dikshit's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Our Parliamentary Affairs Editor Vineet Dikshit joining us now from the newsroom. Vineet, a very good morning. We're going to be seeing a first-of-a-kind conference today in Parliament. Give us a sense of what is going to be the top focus.
Well, Tracy, about 2 years back, in September 2015, rather 3 years back, when the Sustainable Development Goals were adopted by the world community. Now, what were these goals? To work for the betterment of the world community. These Sustainable Development Goals, as they are known as SDGs, they were framed to work for the national unity, for the various schemes, sustainable schemes that have been put in place. And these legislators who are coming to Delhi today, they are uniquely placed to identify the weaknesses, to identify the gaps, and they are the best people, the number one people who are connected to the grassroots. They will work towards these goals. Now, it's an initiative by the Lok Sabha Speaker, the first of its kind. Yesterday, when she was addressing the press conference, I asked her that, is it the one-off event, or are you going to institutionalize it? She was very hopeful that this will be a very good step towards SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals achievement. It's a 2-day event. Shortly from hereafter, about 9:30 onwards, she will address it, and Prime Minister will formally inaugurate this 2-day event in the Central Hall. Tracy? Absolutely. We'd like to tell our viewers that we will be showing it here on Rajya Sabha TV, so do stay tuned for this very important conference. And Vineet, this is also a chance, like you are pointing out, for the legislators and these delegates to actually talk about their constituencies, especially those who have the greater responsibilities and aspirations of development. And it's a good chance to give a platform to not those, in fact, not the ones with greater, bigger constituencies, but also the smaller ones. It's a good platform for them as well. Absolutely. Many of these legislators are the first timers. They have been selected and handpicked by the various state assembly speakers. As many as I said, 175 legislators. The list is going up. It may touch 200 by the starting when the conference is about to start. Now, these are handpicked by various assembly speakers. 20 assemblies are sending their legislators. Each delegation consists of around 8 members. 5 of it are at least, 3 of it are at least women legislators. Care has been taken to handpick these and send the best brains to Delhi to deliberate in this conclave. Tracy? All right, we leave it there for the moment. Vineet, thank you so much for joining us. We'll come back to you through the day for more on this story. Meanwhile, in tune with India's focus on the Indian Ocean region, President Ramnath Kovind will embark on a 5-day visit to the island nations of Madagascar and Mauritius from the 11th of March. President Kovind will visit Mauritius from March 11th to 14th and will be in Madagascar on 14th and 15th of March. He will attend the celebrations marking the 50th anniversary of the independence of Mauritius. In Mauritius, the President will also hold talks with the President, Prime Minister and other political leaders.
4 pacts in areas of higher education to Ayurveda will also be signed. In Madagascar, President Kovind will be meeting his counterpart and interact with the business community. Now, the visits assume significance as these countries lie in the Indian Ocean region, which is considered India's backyard and has been witnessing growing Chinese naval presence.
This is a highly substantive visit in the sense that we look forward to signing 4 MOUs during the visit. There is a MOU on Nalanda University, in fact, which was in the works and which is now coming to fruition. And then there is the MOU on establishment of an Ayurveda chair in the University of Mauritius.
President Ramnath Kovind inaugurated the coffee table book, Fulfilling Bapu's Dream, Prime Minister Modi's Tribute to Gandhi, in President House on Friday. On the occasion, the President appreciated the efforts of Prime Minister Modi to fulfill the dream of Clean India. The first part of the book includes quotes of the Prime Minister on Mahatma Gandhi, and the second part includes the collection of Mahatma Gandhi's views on various issues. The book has been published by Bluecraft Digital Foundation and Sulabh International. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu interacted with students of Chennai's Bharat Institute of Law in New Delhi. The Vice President gave the students best wishes for their future. The group of 80 students are in the national capital on a 4-day tour, during which they'll witness the proceedings of both houses of parliament and also visit Tihar jail. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Friday interacted with the recipients of the Nari Shakti Puraskar. During the interaction, the Prime Minister spoke of Seva Parama Dharma as being an integral part of Indian culture. The Prime Minister added that the awardees have devoted their lives on a mission to serve others. He said that their contribution extends far beyond those who benefited from their efforts and serves as inspiration for the society. The Prime Minister further added that efforts to serve society have been a part of the Indian ethos and are reflected in initiatives such as dharmshalas, gaushalas and even education initiatives that are visible across the country. Women and Child Development Minister Maneka Gandhi was also present on the occasion. 30 individuals and 9 institutions were awarded the Nari Shakti Puraskar for their work for women empowerment on International Women's Day. The stage is set for the by-elections to the 2 Lok Sabha seats of Gorakhpur and Phulpur on Sunday. The by-polls were necessitated after Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath and Deputy Chief Minister Keshav Prasad Maurya vacated the seats following their election to the Uttar Pradesh Legislative Council. The by-elections are expected to witness a triangular contest between the ruling BJP, the Samajwadi Party and the Congress. The BJP has fielded Kaushalendra Singh Patel from Phulpur and Upendra Dutt Shukla from Gorakhpur against the SP's Praveen Nishad and Nagendra Pratap Singh Patel respectively. S. Karim is the Congress candidate from Gorakhpur. The party has fielded Manish Mishra from Phulpur. There are 10 candidates in the fray from Gorakhpur, while there are 22 candidates contesting from Phulpur. In other news, health and legal experts have welcomed the landmark Supreme Court verdict on euthanasia. The Indian Medical Association has said that the verdict on right to die with dignity was long overdue. In a landmark judgment on Friday, the Supreme Court allowed passive euthanasia for terminally ill patients, recognizing the right to die with dignity. The court also allowed a living will, where a person can choose in advance to withdraw from life support. However, the court has framed strict guidelines to prevent misuse. Here's a look at the details of the judgment.
Human beings have the right to die with dignity. Stating this, the Supreme Court allowed passive euthanasia for terminally ill patients. In its landmark judgment, the 5-judge Constitution Bench, headed by Chief Justice Deepak Mishra, allowed living will that permits doctors to withdraw life support. However, the court has set out strict guidelines to govern passive euthanasia. Under these, a family member or friend of a terminally ill person seeking passive euthanasia can approach the High Court that will constitute a medical board to decide if passive euthanasia is needed. The top court has said the guidelines will remain effective till a law comes into place.
That any individual has a full right to decide that he should not take any kind of medical treatment or that he should not be kept alive by artificial life support systems, and if that person so decides, that decision of that individual is binding on the doctors and his family, and they have to respect his decision.
According to the Supreme Court, the right to live with dignity also includes smoothing the process of dying. An adult human being having mental capacity to take an informed decision has the right to refuse medical treatment. In a living will, a person can choose in advance to withdraw from life support in case he or she becomes terminally ill in future. The living will should be made before a magistrate with 2 witnesses.
सही मानों में एक व्यक्ति जो इस तरह से बिस्तर पर पड़ा हुआ है अस्पताल के कि जिसको ना हालचाल है, ना ज़हन चलता है, ना शरीर का कोई भाग काम कर रहा है और डॉक्टरों ने जवाब दे दिया है कि रिकवरी होने के कोई चांसेस नहीं है, मिराकल लाखों में एक होती है, तो ऐसी सूरत में वो राइट टू लाइफ जो है उसका दुरुपयोग नहीं होना चाहिए।
The Supreme Court judgment is only 50% positive. According to us, we don't want to live at all, we want to die while we are quite fit. Supreme Court judgment does not help us. Even it does not help the people who are terminally ill.
The verdict by the Constitution Bench came on a PIL filed by NGO Common Cause seeking recognition of living will made by terminally ill patients for passive euthanasia. The petition said the right to life includes the right to die with dignity and a person can't be forced to live on life support. With inputs from Ravindra Sharan, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
In more national news, the Gst Council headed by Finance Minister Arun Jaitley will meet today in New Delhi. The council is expected to finalize a simpler return filing process and give approval for the rollout of e-way or electronic way bill from the 1st of April. The council is also expected to decide on certain rules pertaining to the anti-profiteering mechanism under GST, giving more flexibility and power to the apex body, National Profiteering Authority, in its final decision-making process before penalizing any company or profiteering. In addition, the Council may look at constituting an officers' panel for grievance redressal mechanism to deal with mainly litigation related to GST. The Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh or the RSS will elect its next Sarkaryavaha or General Secretary today. The election is done once in 3 years. A 3-day Akhil Bharatiya Pratinidhi Sabha, the highest decision-making body of the RSS, is underway in Nagpur. The conclave will chalk out the agenda for the RSS and the course of action for the next 3 years.
Over 1,500 office bearers of the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh arrived in Nagpur for a 3-day conference. The once in a 3-year event includes the participation of 35 affiliated organizations and 25 women. The Akhil Bharatiya Pratinidhi Sabha of then RSS will elect the next Sarkaryavaha or General Secretary of the organization. The Sarkaryavaha is the executive head who looks after day-to-day activities of the RSS. Currently, Sarkaryavaha Bhayaji Joshi has held the position since 2009.
सारे देश की एकता अखंडता के लिए उन्होंने जीवन भर प्रयत्न किया, सभी प्रकार के विवादों को समाप्त करने का प्रयत्न किया और पाकिस्तान की जो दुर्नीतियां रहती हैं उसके विरुद्ध वे लद्दाख जैसे दुर्गम क्षेत्र में हिम्मत के साथ खड़े रहे। उनके जीवन को लेकर सारे देश भर में राष्ट्रीय स्वयंसेवक संघ ने भिन्न-भिन्न प्रकार के कार्यक्रम किए हैं।
The Akhil Bharatiya Pratinidhi Sabha will also deliberate on various issues of national importance and pass resolutions. One of these will relate to the preservation of vernacular languages and dialects.
सुरक्षित रख सके, इसलिए इन बोलियों और भाषाओं को सुरक्षित रखना, इनको समृद्ध बनाए रखना, क्योंकि यह परंपराओं की वाहिका हैं। इस संबंध में एक प्रस्ताव आएगा, उस प्रस्ताव को लेकर स्वयंसेवक देश भर में समाज के बीच में जाएंगे।
On an expansion mode currently, RSS leaders say the activities of the organization are witnessing immense interest among urban professionals, including NRIs. Since January 2018, the RSS has organized 58,967 shakhas and 16,405 weekly millans. The thrust remains on respecting and celebrating diversity while fighting against forces dividing India.
In its annual report presented to the Akhil Bharatiya Pratinidhi Sabha, the RSS voiced concern over internal strife in the society and condemned the incidents of violence and damage to public property. It also stressed that creating amicable and healthy environment by resolving all the problems should be the priority for one and all. Reporting from Nagpur with camera person Sanjay Kumar, I'm Kriti Mishra for Rajya Sabha Television.
In fact, Kriti Mishra joining us now from Nagpur for more on what to expect in the day ahead. Kriti, of course, all eyes are going to be on whether that new name of General Secretary would be announced. Anything that you're hearing at the moment, even though, of course, we do have another day of deliberations, that is tomorrow too.
Well, that's right, Tracy. So the crucial meet of the Akhil Bharatiya Pratinidhi Sabha would continue today and tomorrow as well. Now, yesterday late in the evening, BJP President Amit Shah landed in Nagpur, and also Union Transport Minister Nitin Gadkari landed in Nagpur. They're expected to attend the sessions today. So, of course, there are resolutions to be passed by the highest decision-making body. One of the resolutions, of course, would be on preservation of dialects, of vernacular dialects, and also the RSS would discuss the ways to elevate the income levels of the farmers and the situation of the farmers in the country. The election of the next General Secretary is also on the cards, and now speculation is rife that the current Secretary General would pass on the baton to the next one, and the name that is doing rounds is of Dattatreya Hosapale. But there are others who say that the status quo would be maintained. So, of course, today and tomorrow that crucial meeting would be on, and as and when that development happens, we shall apprise our viewers about it. Tracy?
All right, we'll wait for that then. Thank you so much, Kriti, for joining us with that. On to some international news, and the US on Friday said that President Trump's acceptance to meet North Korea leader Kim Jong-un depends on concrete steps taken by Pyongyang. The White House press secretary claimed that the meeting between both leaders, initiated by South Korea, would be possible only if North Korea follows through on its promises. Earlier this week, South Korean officials said that North Korea was ready to give up its nuclear weapons if the stability of Kim's regime was guaranteed. Kim also agreed to meet South Korean President Moon Jae-in in April for talks.
Let's not forget that the North Koreans did promise something. They've promised to denuclearize, they've promised to stop nuclear and missile testing, and they've recognized that we're going to continue in our military exercises. Let's be very clear, the United States has made zero concessions, but North Korea has made some promises. And again, this meeting won't take place without concrete actions that match the promises that have been made by North Korea.
India on Friday welcomed the prospect of talks between the US and North Korea on the latter's nuclear and missile program, but it warned that efforts to bring peace to the Korean peninsula should address concerns about proliferation. On to sports news. An Indian women's hockey team beat South Korea in the fourth match of a five-match series in Seoul on Friday. The visitors beat the hosts 3-1. 2 goals in the first quarter by Gurjeet Kaur and Deepika put India in a commanding position, while Poonam Rani's field goal in the 47th minute secured the victory for the visitors. For South Korea, Min Hyun Park scored a consolation goal. India will next play their 5th and final match of the series against South Korea on the 11th of March. And that's it on Breakfast News. Thank you for joining us.